They say every king must one day fall, but in Genoa City, no one expected it to be Victor Newman. This is the story of betrayal, blackmail, war between titans, and the moment everything came crashing down. A warning to those who play God in a city full of ghosts. Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. Today, on The Young and the Restless, a smug Victor goads the abbots. Victoria guesses something is wrong with Nick and Noah, and Kane offers Phyllis another opportunity. At the Abbott manse, Jack and Diane continue to debate whether his plan of taking J-Bot offline is worth the risk. If they do this, he could lose the legacy that his father built. Jack can't see any other options, and neither can anyone else in the family. He was angry at first, but realized that the mustache wants them to be angry, so their emotions will cloud their judgment and make them easier to attack. His wife can't wait to make it public that Victor has committed a crime. She plans to use their time offline to get all the evidence they need to expose him. Billy strolls into society as Audra mopes out. He joins Sally on the couch, and she tells him how upset her friend is to be alone and unemployed on Thanksgiving. He immediately changes the subject to his brother's plans to rescue Jabal. The topic changes to the upcoming launch of Abbott Communications. Sally is impressed by how excited he is. Billy worries his sober new persona might be too boring for her. As they head for the exit to prove how exciting they can still be, Victor drifts in to goad them, suggesting that they could be in store for another slip-up. Once Victor makes his way to the bar, Jack and Diane arrive. She suggests they avoid the Newman, but her husband can't stay away. Jack immediately starts in on how everything is collapsing on Kane. When he accuses Victor of stealing his AI, Victor plays innocent, but raises his glass to Kane's misfortune. Bustling into Crimson Lights for some tea, Victoria bumps into Nate. No sooner have they sat than Audra arrives and glares at them. She approaches and, after some small talk, points out that he seems to be able to forgive at least one of his exes. They dismiss her. She steps away and eavesdrops. Victoria receives a text from her father and informs Nate she needs to leave immediately. The second she's gone, Audra demands to know if he has reunited with Victoria. Hastings reminds her she has no right to ask after the way she betrayed him. He will admit that he loved her and the future that seemed to be ahead for them. Audra was in love with that too, so she asks him to give her a shot at fixing it. Shaking his head, Nate insists it's too late. He'll never be able to trust her again. Victoria walks into society, brushing past Jack and Diane, and having a brief conversation with them before joining her father. Victor informs her that he needs to leave for LA suddenly. That means she will have to look after the company. She assumes that something has happened to Nick and Noah. Her father will not explain, but assures her he will be there for his family. In the athletic club, Phyllis assumes Kane is about to chase after Lily, caving to her demands. Ashby insists he's now cutting his losses. He's already offered Arabesque to Victor for pennies on the dollar. Phyllis can't believe he's willing to throw away all that he's built. Kane insists that he was corrupted and needs to start afresh. He's hardly going to be left destitute and can create something new. When he imagines what his future will look like, she is what he sees. Kane confronts Phyllis again for stealing the AI and giving it to Victor. She accuses him of concocting a conspiracy theory, but he barks at her to tell the truth. He can even admire what she did after he spent so long flip-flopping. But he can't admire her making a deal with Victor. There's no way to trust a man with ice in his veins. If she wants to have a professional future with him, Ashby says she needs to prove her loyalty. She reminds him that he now has nothing to bargain with. He repeats his demand for proof of loyalty, and Phyllis asks where Lily fits into his future. Kane knows that his ex isn't part of his future, and he's determined to put his past behind him. That includes Dumas. A positive start needs to be clean, so if Phyllis wants part of that, she needs to come clean. Phyllis declares that she wants to be a star to prove all the haters and doubters wrong. Can he really promise her that? "We'll see," he offers. Leaning in, she agrees to tell him the truth. The early morning light streamed through the Abbott mansion's stained glass windows like a quiet warning. Jack Abbott stood by the fireplace, his jaw clenched, watching the flames dance. He'd barely slept. The thought of taking Jabot offline still gnawed at him. That legacy, his father's dream, was something he never thought he'd even consider dismantling. But with Victor Newman pulling every string, poisoning systems, manipulating tech, there was no choice. And Jack hated that. Hated that Victor had cornered him so completely. Diane watched her husband in silence, sensing the war raging inside him. "This isn't surrender," she said softly. "It's recalibration. You're not giving up the fight. You're just choosing the battleground." Jack gave her a tired smile. "He's good, Diane. He's too good. He doesn't even need to gloat anymore. His silence is the gloat." He turned, voice thick with resolve. "But if he thinks we'll sit quietly while he burns us down, he doesn't know what we're willing to do to expose him." At Society, Billy noticed Audra slipping out of the lounge, her eyes red but determined. Sally was tucked into the corner, nursing a lukewarm latte and glancing over pitch documents. Billy joined her with his usual charm. "Mind if a boring, reformed man sits beside you?" Sally smiled, grateful for the distraction. "As long as your boring self is more entertaining than this cold coffee." Talk soon turned to Abbott Communications, their final card to play. Billy's excitement radiated. Sally admired his passion, but also sensed his fear, the fear of failing again, of being the Abbott who always almost got it right. Just then, Victor Newman entered. His presence was thunderous even when silent. He made a cryptic remark about Jabot's fall and Kane's failure, tossing them a smirk so sharp it could slice glass. Billy's fists clenched under the table. Sally placed a calming hand on his. "Not worth it," she whispered. "He wants you to snap." Meanwhile, Jack and Diane arrived, bumping into Victor near the bar. Jack couldn't resist. "Enjoying the ruins you've created?" he hissed. Victor raised a glass and offered nothing but a cold grin. "Here's to Kane. May his next venture be less disappointing." At Crimson Lights, Victoria spotted Nate. Their recent moments together had been cautious, tender, but fragile. Audra's sudden appearance shattered the peace. Her sharp comments masked pain, jealousy, and unfinished business. Victoria left abruptly after a text from Victor, leaving Nate to face Audra's questions. She begged for another chance, but Nate, though conflicted, stood firm. "I don't build futures with people who wreck the past." Victoria met Victor at Society. His tone was somber. Something was wrong with Nick and Noah. He didn't say what, only that he was leaving for L.A. and she needed to step in at Newman. Victoria's breath caught. She knew her father, and he didn't ask for help unless it was life or death. Back at the athletic club, Phyllis confronted Kane. She assumed he was about to crawl back to Lily, but Kane shocked her. He was walking away from everything. Arabesque, Newman, Lily, even Dumas, all of it. Burned bridges made space for new roads. Phyllis called him reckless. He called her a traitor. "You gave my AI to Victor Newman," he accused, venom in every word. She denied it at first, but the look in his eyes, betrayed but still full of hope, forced her to crack. "Maybe I did what I had to," she said, "but I never stopped believing in us." "If you want in on my future," Kane warned, "you need to prove your loyalty, and it starts now." She hesitated, heart thundering, then finally nodded. "Fine, I'll tell you everything." But telling the truth was only step one. Surviving it would be another matter entirely. In the hours after Phyllis's confession, the air between her and Kane was dense with everything unspoken. She had laid it bare. The deal with Victor, the stolen code, the rationalizations. "You weren't there, Kane," she had said. "You were too busy chasing ghosts while I kept the company breathing." Now Kane sat alone in his suite, staring out at the Genoa City skyline. Betrayal came easy in this town. Forgiveness? That was a luxury. And yet, something about Phyllis's broken honesty tugged at him. Maybe he needed a partner who wasn't perfect. Maybe he just needed someone who'd admit when they fell. Meanwhile, at Newman Enterprises, Victoria was already bracing for turbulence. Her father's absence left a power vacuum. The board was restless. Audra opportunistic. Nikki still too shaken to lead. And Adam, lurking. Always lurking. She met with Nate again away from prying eyes. "I need someone I can count on," she admitted. "Someone smart, uncompromised. Are you still that person?" "I don't know," Nate replied honestly, "but I want to be." Elsewhere, Jack held a secret meeting with Billy, Diane, and Tracy. Jabat's systems were offline, no leaks, no spies, and yet the weight of what came next felt heavier than ever. "We're not just fighting for a company," Jack said. "We're fighting for our name, for what Dad built. And if that means going nuclear, we go nuclear." Diane leaned forward. "You're talking about full exposure, risking our reputation to take Victor down." "Yes," Jack said, "because if we don't, we'll have no legacy left to protect." Sally arrived with updates from the press arm of Abbott Communications. Whispers were already circulating about Newman's mysterious AI acquisition. If they timed it right, they could pin the theft to Victor publicly. But there was a wild card, Phyllis. Billy warned that she could blow up both sides if she wanted to. "She's not loyal to anyone but herself." "Not true," said a quiet voice from the doorway. Phyllis entered, surprising everyone. Her expression was unreadable. "I want to help," she said. Jack raised a skeptical brow. "Why the sudden change of heart?" "Because Kane gave me a future, and I won't let Victor destroy it," she said, voice cracking. "You want evidence? I can give you everything." In the shadows of society, Victor prepared to leave for L.A., but his instincts told him something had shifted. Too much silence from Jack, too little defiance from Kane, too much stillness. He knew better than anyone. Stillness meant the storm had already begun. At the ranch, Nikki watched her husband pack. "You think you can control all of this, but what if it spins beyond your reach?" Victor stopped. "Then I remind them who they're dealing with." Back at the club, Kane met with Phyllis one last time before the press conference. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. She nodded. "If this ruins me, so be it. At least I ruin myself on my terms." Later, Jack stood before reporters, evidence in hand, emails, code logs, Signatures linking Victor Newman to the AI theft. It was bold, dangerous, and irreversible. By the time Victor's jet landed in Los Angeles, the headlines had already broken. Newman under investigation for corporate espionage. Abbott fires back in AI war. And beneath the fold, a quiet photo of Phyllis, arms folded, head high, with the quote, "I chose the truth. Not because I had to, but because it's all I had left." The war wasn't over, but the battlefield had changed, lines had been drawn, and this time, everyone had something to lose. The headlines hit Genoa City like an earthquake. AI espionage exposed. Victor Newman implicated in corporate theft scandal. Jabot strikes back. Phones rang non-stop inside Newman Towers. Assistants scrambled, lawyers shouted, and board members demanded emergency meetings. Victoria, now acting CEO, felt the full weight of her father's legacy crash down on her shoulders. She took a breath before stepping into the war room. Cameras were waiting, microphones eager, sharks circling. Newman Enterprises categorically denies these allegations, she declared, her voice steady. We will cooperate with authorities to clear our name. But even as she spoke, Victoria felt the ground shifting beneath her. Across town, Jack Abbott watched the press conference from his office, arms crossed. Diane stood beside him, reading between the lines. She didn't deny it with conviction, Diane said. That wasn't a defense, it was damage control. Jack nodded. Victor must have left her in the dark. Classic strategy. If she doesn't know the full truth, she can't accidentally confirm it. Billy barged in, holding a burner phone. The whistleblower wants to meet. Whistleblower. Jack narrowed his eyes. We didn't have a whistleblower. Billy smirked. We do now. Meanwhile, Kane Ashby sat in a quiet booth at Crimson Lights, nursing a coffee he barely tasted. The war had begun, and he wasn't sure if he'd just saved his soul or sold it to another devil. Phyllis slid in across from him, dropping a tablet loaded with legal documents. Everything's uploaded. Audit trails, deleted emails. Backup code fragments, she whispered. It's all in there. If this doesn't burn Victor, nothing will. Kane looked at her carefully. Why are you really doing this? Because I'm tired of being the pawn, she said. I want to be the queen. Nate Hastings stood at the window of his penthouse, watching Genoa City buzz like a kicked beehive. The scandal had upended everything. Suddenly, his rejection of Audra looked wise. His distance from Victor seemed prescient. A soft knock turned him around. It was Audra. You win, she said, eyes glistening. You were right about everything, but I didn't come to grovel. I came to warn you. Warn me? Victor is going to come after all of you, and he won't fight fair. At Jabot, Sally was organizing press packets when Billy returned. The source is real, he told her. It's someone inside Newman's cybersecurity division. They were ordered to scrub the AI logs after the hack, but they saved a copy. Sally's brow furrowed. This could destroy them. It will, Billy said, if Jack lets it go public. And Jack wasn't sure. If we do this, Tracy warned during a family meeting, there's no coming back, no reconciliation, no détente. We passed that point when Victor stole from us, Diane replied. But Jack remained silent, looking out at the winter sky. He knew Victor, knew what the man would do when cornered, and yet something about this felt too easy. A part of him wondered if he was walking into a trap. Back in Los Angeles, Victor sat with a quiet contact in a Beverly Hills mansion, a digital forensics expert named Marcus, a former NSA spook who owed him favors. "Find out who leaked it," Victor said coldly, "and bury them." Marcus nodded. "You'll have a name in 24 hours. Victor's phone buzzed. It was Victoria. "Dad, it's getting worse. Regulators, investigators, even Nick's reaching out." "Tell them nothing," Victor replied. "I'll handle this." "But we need to talk about Noah. He's missing." Victor's hand tightened around the phone. "What?" "Noah was last seen leaving a bar in downtown L.A. 3 nights ago. No messages, no calls, no credit card activity. I didn't want to say anything until I was sure." Victor's face went white. And for the first time in years, he didn't know what move to make next. 3 days later, the city was still reeling. The SEC had launched an investigation. Newman's stock dipped. Whispers of board takeovers filled the air. Victoria hadn't slept in 48 hours. She stood in Nick's office, staring at a photo of their family when things were simple. She missed those days like oxygen. Nate entered quietly. "Still no word on Noah?" She shook her head. "It's like he vanished." "You think it's connected?" "I don't know," she whispered. "But Dad does. And he's not telling me." At Jabot, Jack stared at the confidential documents from the whistleblower. Clear-cut, time-stamped, undeniable proof. He paced like a man on the verge of revolution. Diane watched with concern. "You don't have to be the executioner," she offered. "But someone has to be," Jack replied. "And I won't let Victor burn another generation." Suddenly, Kyle entered. "We have a problem," he said. Jabot's servers were hit by a cyber attack. Firewalls held, but it was a warning shot. No data stolen. Just rattled. A message. Jack knew who sent it. Victor's playing offense. Meanwhile, in L.A., Victor met with an old contact from Interpol. He pulled every string he had. "Find Noah," he ordered. "I don't care what it costs." At the same time, Phyllis found herself in an uncomfortable situation, approached by Tucker McCall. He offered her immunity, money, a clean escape. All she had to do was disappear and take the hard drives with her. "Victor's got dirt on everyone," Tucker warned. "If he burns, he's taken the whole forest with him." Phyllis smiled sadly. "I've burned once. I'm not afraid of the ashes." Kane, however, wasn't so confident. He met with Lily at Chancellor Winters and confessed everything. "You did what?" she gasped. "You brought Phyllis into this mess? You handed our future over to her?" Kane looked down. "I needed help, and she believed in me. She believes in her next headline, and now you've turned us into cannon fodder." Later that day, Billy received word that the whistleblower was gone. Disappeared. No note, no trace. Just like Noah. "Too many ghosts," he murmured. By nightfall, Jack held a press conference. He stepped up to the mic with the USB drive in his pocket. But just before he spoke, a courier handed him a package. Inside were photos of Noah, bruised, blindfolded, time-stamped. Jack paled. Victor's message was clear.